Welcome back, flutes. This lesson is going to be focusing on the Flute Finger Ninjas page, which is page 15 of your packet, but it's a supplemental page that we added later. And we have already completed lines 1 through 5. So this lesson is going to be focusing on lines 6 through 10, moving back and forth between C and D. Now, in flute world, for some instruments, this is a very easy thing to do, going between C and D. But for flutes, not so much, because C and D are completely the opposite. So you're going to need to practice these exercises a lot to feel comfortable with them. And if you are not practicing often and practicing well, you're going to be very clumsy at these two notes. So I recommend practicing them a lot without blowing air, and then practicing them with the air after you're comfortable with the slow finger movements, okay? So let's begin with the fingering for the C. So we've known C for quite a while. C is just 1 and pinky. So notice I have my head joint on my shoulder, so I'm like burping my baby here. And 1 pinky is helping me hold the instrument because I'm not going to be engaging the thumb for this note, okay? So when I am holding the instrument with my lip, then that is playing the support there and here in the joint for the note. So 1 pinky, C. All right, here we go. These are big, fat, hairy whole notes. We're just playing nice, big, full Cs. And tap, 2, 1, pinky. Okay, so you will notice the instructions here say you're going to hover the fingers and the thumb close to the keys. So if you're not using them, make sure they keep really close so you're not waving with your fingers because that's kind of creepy. Let's go to line number 7. Line number 7 is the D. It is completely the opposite of the C. So the fingering for the D is thumb, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now, this is hook 'em horns. We've got our first finger up and our pinky up, but we're not going to stick them up in the air like that when we play. They're going to hover over the keys, but just so you know, that's the hook 'em horn motion right there, isn't it? Okay, so here we go. D sounds like this. Here we go. Tap, 2, and breathe. Not so bad, right? We can play C's and we can play D's. Now, going back and forth between the two of them is what we're going to be doing on line 8. So, like I said, they are completely the opposite. So for C, I am 1 pinky. And for D, the 1 and the pinky are going to be up and everything else will be down. So if I do this like really slow-mo, it looks like this. Here's C, 1 pinky. And then the 1 pinky come up. So if I go backwards, 1 pinky go down and everything else goes up. Don't forget to add the thumb when you go for the D, okay? So 1 pinky go down, everything else comes up. And so this is the way you practice this. You just start slow and then gradually speed it up so that you are proficient in moving all of those fingers at the same time. Okay, so line 8, when you feel comfortable moving from C's to D's slowly without playing, then we will attempt to play line 8. Okay, so I'm going back and forth between C, gonna rest 4 counts in between, then play the D. While we are resting, that is when you're going to be changing that motion over, okay? So here is line 8, starting on C, 1 pinky, going to hook 'em horns. Tap, 2, and C, here we go. Shift, everything changes. Hook 'em horns. All right, how did you do? Little tricky, right? So go back and practice that exercise until you can do it without making mistakes. Once you're done with that, we'll move on to line number 9. Line 9 is essentially the same thing, except we're not going to be resting for 4 counts in between. So these are half notes now. We're speeding this up. We're going to take a 2-count breath at the end of every half note. And so now you've got 2 counts in order to change the fingers. Notice the last measure on the line is a little different. So just be prepared that we're going to go down from D to C here and not have the rest. So just look ahead. Here we go. We're starting on C, 1 pinky, going to hook 'em horns. Tap, 2, air, flip, change, this measure is different. Start on D. How'd you do? All right, you might have to go back and do that one several times before you're ready for line number 10. Line number 10 is the same 2 notes, except now we're not going to take a rest in between them. We're going to move directly. So this means that your fingers are going to have to be very efficient at moving to their next spot, okay? So do not attempt line number 10 until you are comfortable with the motion back and forth. All right, so we're going to go from low note to high note, C to D. Then we're going to freeze our face here while we take a breath. And then we're going to go backwards, D to C, C and D, and then backwards again, D to C. All right, here we go. 1 pinky. Tap, 2, air. Freeze, don't move. Going down. Don't move. Start on C. Ready and go. How'd you do? Right. I want you to be super awesome at those 2 motions. So keep practicing this video until you feel very proficient at this. Good luck.